Hello, you are watching Middle East Matters on France 24. I'm Nadia Massi. Here's what's coming up in the show. Winding down the ground war. Israel says intensive battles will draw to a close soon, but the relentless bombardment of Gaza continues. Also coming up, a look at the ripple effects of the war in the Red Sea. What options do the US and the UK now have, with the Houthi attacks on ships showing no sign of halting? And what's in it for the Yemeni group itself? And we'll head to Egypt as the country dreams of lifting the AFCON trophy for the first time since 2010. First, the Israeli government says it will soon start winding down the intensive ground war in Gaza. Some Israeli troops have already been pulled out of the north of the enclave, and more are expected to withdraw from the south in the weeks ahead. But there's been little let up in the bombardment of Gaza, with Palestinian civilians continuing to bear the brunt of this conflict.
There are neither days nor nights with respite from violence. Overnight into Tuesday, the Israeli Air Force once again bombarded the region of Khan Yunis in the southern Gaza Strip. More than 24,000 Palestinians have been killed since the war started in October, according to the Hamas-run health ministry. In a change of tack, the Israeli military said intensive operations will abate after it gets control of the entire Gaza Strip.
In the northern area of the Gaza Strip, this phase is coming to an end. In southern Gaza, it will end soon, after we reach this achievement. In both places, we will move on to the next phase.
In the final part of the second phase of military operations, IDF soldiers will perform a neighborhood-by-neighborhood hunt, looking to dismantle Hamas's long-range firing equipment and kill the architects of the October 7th attack. After that, Israel will withdraw a large number of troops from Gaza, although targeted airstrikes will continue. In the third phase, Israel will seek to create a new security regime in Gaza and a buffer zone between Gaza and Israel. The shift in military strategy comes in the face of mounting international pressure to reduce casualties.
Nothing can justify the collective punishment of the Palestinian people. The humanitarian situation in Gaza is beyond words.
The pressure is also budgetary. On Monday, the Israeli cabinet approved 14 billion more euros for the war after more than 24 hours of debate. Some ministers were unhappy with cuts to ministries meant to offset the war spending.
Now, also this week, a car ramming attack in Ra'anana, central Israel, has killed a woman and wounded at least 17 others. 2 Palestinians have been arrested. The region north of Tel Aviv has been largely spared from the current violence, but nonetheless, there and across Israel, a growing number of civilians are starting to carry firearms. Indeed, since the Hamas attacks of October the 7th last year, the Israeli government has loosened rules around gun ownership, as Emerald Maxwell now reports.
Abigail is off to buy a present at the shopping centre. Even for an everyday errand like this, she's armed.
I put my gun on my stomach and took off the holster so that I can take it out quickly if I needed to.
The interior designer has only owned this 9mm handgun for 3 weeks. Previously, she'd never handled a firearm.
It's small and easy to handle. I feel comfortable with it. To get a license, I went to a shooting range just once, but I was trained with the gun and how to identify a threat in a real-life situation.
It was the October 7th attack that made her decide to apply for a handgun license. Now she carries her gun with her everywhere she goes.
There is danger everywhere now. You can get shot anywhere. It's our security that's at stake.
There are no door checks at the children's clothes shop where Abigail is buying a present. Armed individuals can come and go as they please. Abigail's next stop that morning is the armory. The whole family is going because her husband also wants to buy a weapon. To get a permit, he's had to pass a medical exam and a criminal record check, but he doesn't need to demonstrate gun proficiency.
I did army service, and you never forget it. It's like riding a bike.
He's chosen a Glock 43, the shop's bestseller.
There are 5 times more demand than there was before the attack. We now sell 50 or 60 firearms a day.
In 2021, roughly 150,000 Israelis held private gun licenses. But over the last 2 months, 260,000 have applied for one. Reservists stroll openly in the street with their assault rifles.
I carry it because it reassures people around me.
The government relaxed the rules for carrying a gun after October 7th, and in the aftermath, a minister even handed them out to settlers. It's enough to worry this lawyer, who says the government is exploiting the public's fear.
They're using this to encourage people to get more weapons. This is the way that they're thinking, and without thinking of the consequences in the long run to Israeli society.
With the system fast-tracked, it now takes no more than a month to legally acquire a gun in Israel.
Now, if it wasn't already evident, one thing that's become increasingly clear this past week is that the war between Israel and Hamas is making the rest of the Middle East less safe. From Lebanon to Iraq and Syria, the ripple effects of this conflict are being felt, but nowhere more so now than Yemen. For months, Houthis have been firing missiles at cargo ships in the Red Sea, prompting the US and the UK to bomb targets inside Yemen this past weekend, and there could now be more strikes to come. To discuss, I'm very pleased to be joined on the programme by Dr Elisabeth Kendall. She's a specialist on Yemen at the University of Cambridge. Thanks for making the time to speak to us today on France 24.
You're welcome.
So the Houthis appear not to have been deterred by those American and British strikes I just mentioned, because we've seen more ships being hit just this Monday and Tuesday in the Red Sea. So what do you think happens now? Will there be more American strikes on Yemen?
There could well be more US strikes on Yemen, although I think that Western powers will take note that the Houthis are not so easily deterred. I think this was probably quite predictable because the Houthis have been at war for 9 years. They've undergone over 25,000 airstrikes by the Saudi-led coalition over 7 of the last 9 years. So it was predictable that this wasn't going to deter them. And they probably also realized that they were about to undergo strikes from the US or the UK, or at least at risk of that, and would have hidden some of their military equipment. They're adept at that. And so they will keep fighting on. And one thing to bear in mind here is that it's an unequal fight, because the Houthis don't need to be accurate in when they're firing back. They simply need to launch rockets, missiles and drones into the Red Sea in order to disrupt shipping and therefore rattle financial markets with all the knock-on effects that that has for the global economy. The West, on the other hand, the United States and the UK and their allies need to be precise in their attacks because they cannot risk killing civilians. So I think we're set to see the Houthis continue for some time yet.
Okay, so the Houthis are likely to continue these strikes, but I'm interested in what you think is in it for the group. The strikes that they're carrying out generally aren't causing a great deal of damage to those ships in the Red Sea. They're certainly not halting the bombardment of Gaza, which is their sort of stated aim here, isn't it, to act in solidarity with the Palestinians. And as you say, it has prompted these attacks on their soil, on Yemeni soil. So big picture, why do it for the Houthis?
Well, the Houthis actually stand to gain quite a lot from this current situation. First of all, their narratives, which pitch the United States as an aggressor in the Middle East, as the enemy of Islam, underlined and justified by these attacks. And they win broad support because the Houthis are standing up, as they say, for the Palestinians. At least this is the way they pitch it. And that has broad support, not just amongst their base, not just in Yemen, but more broadly around the Arab world, because there aren't many parties who are actually doing something. And although you say this hasn't helped the situation in Gaza, what it has done is it's brought international attention to the plight of the Palestinians in a way that nothing else really could, because this is having an impact on the global economy. So they're bringing the Palestinian plight to international eyes in a way that I think is going to continue to hurt us.
Dr Elisabeth Kendall, it's good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed.
You're welcome.
Well, we end the programme now with something quite different. Football. The African Cup of Nations is in full swing right now in Ivory Coast, and Egypt, with Liverpool's top scorer Mohamed Salah, are among the favourites. The Pharaohs have won more AFCONs than any other side, but they haven't lifted the trophy since 2010. So could this finally be their year? Brian Quinn takes a look.
AFCON's all-time top team looking to extend their record. Egypt got off to a disappointing start with their 2-2 draw against Mozambique in the tournament opener. Coach Rui Vitória acknowledging that the ultimate triumph remains far off.
Of course we want to win every game. I want to win every game, no matter who we play. And when we don't win, we feel sad. I also realize this is a test of our resilience. At the same time, it's a sign we have to win. There are no easy games, so nothing surprises me.
The Pharaohs spared an outright defeat by an extra-time penalty kick by team captain Mohamed Salah. It would have been a massive upset for Group B. Egypt is favored to win the stage. The team and its fans are counting on Salah. The country's top football superstar, he's put his Liverpool Premier League title quest on hold to chase African glory after coming in as runner-up in 2017 and 2021. After the first match, though, fans say there's room for improvement.
I'm not accepting the performance that Salah did. It was not Salah that we were waiting, but Salah is Salah. He can come back, he can be stronger.
At home in Egypt, Salah's renown is such that he's nicknamed the Fourth Pyramid, one of Africa's greatest players ever. It remains to be seen if he can lead Egypt to their 8th Africa Cup of Nations championship.
Well, good luck to Egypt, and that's a wrap for the programme this week. Thanks for watching. We're back at the same time next week. Bye for now.